episode of the Technology to Manhood lecture series, which is sponsored by FCP Euro. And it's an awesome thing that FCP Euro was able to step in and help us kick off the TMLS, hashtag TMLS lecture series, which is a showcase of Black males to Black boys, because we know that representation matters. Today, we have J.R. Huntington, who is the social media manager of FCP Euro. So I did state that it's the Technology to Manhood lecture series for Black men in tech. But JR actually serves in two roles, as his aspiration was to do something in automotive. So he's fulfilling both of his passions, to be in the social media side and the tech side. So welcome, JR. How you doing?
Good. How are you, Gerald?
I'm great, man. And thank you and the FCP Euro team for supporting us, and Scott, who's the CEO of FCP Euro. And it's awesome that he's supporting our initiatives, and you guys are doing some great work out there with your fundraising efforts. And it's a pleasure, and I'm proud to have you guys as part of the team.
Honestly, we're extremely excited to be able to be involved with something of this nature. You know, this is new for FCP Euro as an organization, but this is the exact direction that we would like to take our organization as far as social responsibility. You know, we've gotten to the point now where we feel that we have a pretty big footprint here in society. Even as individuals, we have a large footprint, but as a company, our footprint is massive. And so we want to use that platform to really do some more good in the world and, you know, do what we can.
And you guys are definitely doing that. And I'm going to give some background of how we even got together in this partnership. So FCP Euro is the foremost online parts distributor for foreign cars.
Yes,
so
yeah.
I drive a BMW, and I like to work on my own car. It's cost effective and it's tech, right? So I was ordering a part from FCP Euro, and I was researching how to install the part, because what FCP Euro does is they sell the parts, but they actually teach you how to install the part, like via their YouTube channel or their Instagram channel or their weblog. So as I was looking to see how to install this part, I saw a blog that the CEO, Scott, posted, and it basically stated what JR said, that they wanted to figure out how they could be more socially responsible and involved with a lot of the things that are going on in society. And this is around the time of George Floyd, and we had a lot of companies coming out stating that they would like to be involved in some initiatives that would help advance causes for Black people. So I reached out to Scott by email, and I replied to his blog, but I reached out to him by email. And it was surprising that Scott actually got back to me. It was either that same day or the next day. And he basically asked, well, you know, who are you? And, you know, how can we get involved? And I kind of didn't even know what to say at first, because one, I wasn't expecting a response, right? I've reached out to several CEOs and those in power to say, hey, you guys have an opportunity with us to make a global impact, you know, and what we do and how we're impacting Black boys in tech. So Scott got back to me, and he introduced me to you and said, hey, JR, you know, see what this guy's talking about, and let's see how we can help move their mission forward. So we had our initial Zoom meeting, and from that point it was on. Like we came up with a plan of what we wanted to do, and a lot of it involved post-COVID, because we can't really, you guys have an awesome shop that you guys said, hey, we would like to get some kids in here and actually give them an intro to automotive tech, which is, you know, exactly something that we needed. But for Scott to step up and say, okay, let's figure out a way to partner and do something that's immediate. So that was awesome. And I'm so appreciative to have you guys on board, because you guys were our first corporate partnership.
Yeah. And this really all happened at a crazy time for us, as in, you know, we said, hey, we're going to put out this statement to the world. It says, we are aligned with Black Lives Matter. we are aligned with those that basically don't have the largest stature in the nation right now. You know, we want to get everybody on a level playing field. So we're going to do what we can to level the playing field. And the issue is with us is like, well, we don't have a board for this yet. We haven't done anything like this yet. How do we even take the first step? You know, how do we proceed? And we don't even have any place to start. And then you reached out to us and we said, you know what, this is probably one of the best first ways to get involved and to really start to get our corporate social responsibility board and team internally here going. You know, and that kind of sparked a whole bunch of effects down the line. And now here we are working on our corporate social responsibility board because we want to just help. We want to help more than young Black boys. We want to help, you know, we want to help everybody that, again, needs somebody to kind of not speak for them, but help them get their voice out there.
Yeah, well, you guys are off to a great start because you guys jumping on board with the Chromebooks for Kids initiative, which was an opportunity for everyone. Like the Chromebooks for Kids initiative crosses all racial barriers. So to date, we've helped over 40 kids get the technology that they need, considering that most of the schools are doing distance learning. So you guys were a big part of that. You guys started your fundraiser and joined in team with us. You guys have raised over $3,000, and then you guys have offered to match the first $2,500. So that has really, in relation to you guys just jumping in head first, like you guys are in it, and it's great for a company to decide, okay, hey, we don't have to wait. Here's a company that we believe in and mission fulfilled that's doing great work, and if we partner with them, you know, it gives us an opportunity to move in quickly. And I've met with several companies, and most of them have said, okay, come back to us in 6 months, come back to us next year. And some of them are doing nothing, right? Mm-hmm. And they say they want to do something, but for you guys to just jump in and say, okay, here's a company that we believe in. They have similar values as to what we do. And here is, you know, an opportunity to get our feet wet. And we've done great work. Like we've done great work. We're getting great feedback. I don't know what the feedback you guys are getting on your end, but we are getting great feedback in the work that you guys are helping us to do.
Well, it's funny because with the corporate social responsibility board we put together, we didn't have anything set in stone yet. So we're like, well, how do we even vet, you know, any sort of organization if we don't have any vetting process, or we're still even trying to figure out who's in this group. But we saw this, as you just mentioned, as an opportunity to help now. And we said, hey, this opportunity may not be around in, you know, 2 months or even a month or who knows how long. And so this is an opportunity to really do what we can now, because you can't wait. You know, there's people that need the long-term solution is going to take a really long time to come into effect. So how can we kind of, for lack of a better term, create Band-Aids along the way so that people can get the help they need now, you know?
Right. And thus the name Mission Fulfilled 2030, like there's this time frame that's out in the future that we have to make these incremental steps to actually reach the goal. And the name Mission Fulfilled 2030 is actually past tense, because I believe in the vision and I know that we'll have the opportunity to impact 100,000 Black boys, Black and brown boys, and what we're doing in the education space, we're impacting all children, but our emphasis is getting more representation for Black males, because Black males make up less than 5% of the high tech and STEM workforce. And it's actually documented that if we can improve Black male participation in tech and STEM by 2%, we can increase the GDP of the country by $320 billion. So it makes sense for everyone to participate and actually help level the playing field. And you guys are doing great. So enough talk about that. So let's jump in. Let the people know who Jade Roy is, where you come from, and you know the impact that you want to have on the world. So first off, let's just start from the beginning. Who are you? Where are you from? Where'd you go to high school? Let's go.
So, day one, let's start there. So I was born in Brooklyn, New York, but I didn't live there, unfortunately. I love Brooklyn. It's a really cool place. Wish I did live there. At the time, my mom, she lived in Connecticut. So, took me back to Connecticut, and from there was pretty much where I started our life. It was me and my mom, doing what we could basically to, help each other as I got older. And, she was there from, she'd been working like 8 to 6 most days. So by the time I was a teenager, I was kind of paving my own way and figuring out my life out for my own. But at the same time, I had this big aspiration for cars, and I was luckily able to get a computer and access to the internet from very early on. I'd say maybe like 11 years old. And from there, I was just looking at cars. I was listening to cars. I was a big BMW guy ever since then. So I was on Bimmer Post every day, which is one of the biggest BMW forums, even from way back when. And so I was heavily ingrained in all this stuff, but only virtually. I had that aspiration to get my hands dirty ever since that teenage age. And I never really had the opportunity to, because it was just me and my mother, and she honestly didn't care about cars at all. And so people have their own interests, and, that's perfectly fine. But how was I kind of supposed to be able to really, wet my palate and figure that stuff out on my own? So from there, I actually was luckily able to, I went to Bloomfield High School, started my high school career, and they had a really cool automotive program that was kind of like the only one of its kind in the area. We had access to 2 lifts, which was really cool. Even just putting a car on a lift at all as a teenager, I was really into that. I was like, man, this is really high tech kind of stuff, or, expensive technology. And then we had full tools, snap-on boxes, a whole bunch of nice stuff. And I was able to, again, that was my first start getting my hands dirty. That didn't last too long, as I went from Bloomfield to Windsor Locks High School, and then graduated on from there to go to UConn, University of Connecticut, right here in Connecticut. So Connecticut boy all the way up and through high school, and then college as well. Connecticut boy through and through. And say about junior year, I had a Volkswagen going into junior year. Had a Volkswagen, a 2003 Jetta 2.0, or as people in the community like to call it, the 2 slow, because it was awfully slow. But, it was my car. It was my first actual car. Me and my mom went halvesies on it. So I paid $900. He paid the other $900. And it needed a little bit of work, but, I wanted to do it. Right. So the little bit of work turned into a very large amount of work when the timing belt snapped, and I had to pretty much rebuild the top of the engine. So my buddy at that point introduced me to FCP Euro. And he was like, I've been buying my Audi parts here for years. It's time for you, to buy some parts. And this is one of the best places to go for European cars. So we dived into it. I bought a bunch of parts, put the car up in my aunt's garage, and just started wrenching on it. And over the course of a month, we actually fixed it. I went and got the valves, fixed at a machine shop, all this stuff. And that was my biggest jump into working on cars, and also my first taste of FCP Euro. Ended up selling that car because it was too much. It was too much. And I still went on. My buddy said, hey, FCP Euro is looking for a marketing guy. Maybe somebody do their social media, maybe somebody to just post on Facebook. I don't know what the scope of it is yet, but I know they're looking for this marketing guy. So he told me to shoot a message to Alex Frank, who is one of the VPs here at FCP Euro. And one of the unique parts about FCP Euro is that no matter how up the proverbial ladder somebody is, VP, CEO, etc., you can get in contact with them, kind of no matter who you are. Like you just mentioned, sending an email directly to the CEO, Scott. And you think of a CEO of a big company, you're like, oh, no, they're impossible to reach. You think of the president of a big company, you're like, you can't email those guys. They're never going to get back to you. Alex got back to me, I think it was same day, and he just said, hey, come hang out. Here's the address. Come visit. We'll talk about potentially what you could do. And I was blown away because he just said, yeah, we're open to talking to this guy. Just respond to my email. He said, hey, let's meet in person. So, that was one of my first real forays into FCP. I walked into the office, nice glass walls, and it was just beautiful. And I was kind of shaking in my boots a bit. I made sure I dressed really nice. I had a bow tie on, and it was really cool. And then these dudes came up to me, Alex and Michael Herzen, who is now our brand director. They were in t-shirts and jeans, just really casual, keeping it cool. And I was like, man, I overdressed, but I guess this may help me out. And we basically just sat in a room for half an hour, talked about what they did, took me on a tour around the whole building. And then they said, hey, you know what? You seem like a really cool guy. You understand how to talk to people. You fit in the community, in the car community. Why don't you come out to a couple races, do our social media? And I was almost like a freelance kind of on my own guy. And a few months later, they presented me with an actual package that said, hey, we'd like you to actually be an FCP Euro employee, and let's get you started.
Man, that's awesome. And I think, as we showcase to the boys in our membership, there were a couple things that stood out to me that you said. One, you started working on cars as a passion of your own, right? Which actually got you moving. Like similar to me, like I got into tech because I had a passion. Everything electronic I had to open it up. So I think a lot of boys like you and I, we have that passion to tinker, but then it's having the opportunity to mesh it with real work and real opportunity that actually keeps you motivated. Number two,
exactly.
You actually took the step, right? I meet a lot of young boys that I talk to and they say, well, how can I do this? Or how can I do that? And the first thing, take the step, figure out what you want to do and ask somebody. And if you have that passion, then actually take that first step. And like you had somebody who embraced you and said, hey, come on in, let us talk to you. But you took the first step. And I tell a lot of people and a lot of the kids I'm talking to all the time, like opportunity is there if you're willing to present yourself in the right way, which you said you did. I presented myself in the right way. And then I took the step. I had the passion. And then I went to work on my own. And that's another thing. Like you started working for them prior to working for them.
Absolutely.
And I tell people all the time, be a person of value. If you are a person of value, then people will hire you. But if you have no value, then no one's going to hire you. So that's kind of the best thing that you kind of did. You showcased your value before they actually took it to the next level and hired you. And now you're basically running their social media and doing all their tech stuff. So, that's a great story. And for all our young black males out there and anyone out there, like, JR's story is one where, hey, just a little initiative and you can get what you want and you can, do those types of things that you want to do. But it's going to take some initiative and it's going to take, some passion for what you do.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter who you are. It's more so, how much are you going to pursue an opportunity that you really want? When I first kind of interacted with FCP Euro, after doing a few races with them and, doing the social media, taking photos and interacting with people on behalf of FCP Euro, but not as an official employee, there's a bit of a point where, all right, race season's over, we have to figure out how you fit in. I didn't hear from them for a bit. And so I just kept knocking on the door. I applied for different jobs and I sent emails, to people I already was talking to. I just said, keep me in your mind, was what I was. Keep me in your head. You already have experience with me. You know who I am. Keep me in your mind. So, you can't let people, I guess, forget about you or overlook you if you really want to have a specific opportunity.
Yeah, and I think that's important. When I go to schools and I talk to kids all the time, I tell them, don't give up. Like you said, okay, I didn't hear from them for a while, but it was something that you wanted, so you didn't give up. And that's really important. That's really important in life, not to give up. But I think that's awesome, and it's an awesome testament. And I'm glad to be here for you to tell this story. Like, our stories need to be heard, and everything. Nothing is given to you. Sometimes you have to work for it, and your story is all about that. Like, what would you? We kind of discussed some of these things, but go in detail. If you were mentoring a young man, like, what type of advice would you give them to achieve success?
So I kind of hinted at this when we were talking about this beforehand, and I also mentioned it a little bit earlier. But it kind of plays off of the don't let yourself be forgotten, or keep yourself in somebody else's mind. If they're the person that is able to open the door for you, don't let them forget about you. And so that starts before that, which is basically develop a relationship, with somebody that can help you take that next step as often as you can, or in as many places as you can. If you are gifted in school, that's always going to be a plus. Everybody needs to do their best, whatever schooling you are in, whether you end up going to college or tech school, or whatever high school you want to be towards the top of your class. But you also can't forget to be a human and to develop those relationships with whoever that person may be, whether they're higher up, or again, if they are the person that can open that door. You want to develop that person-to-person relationship, so that they can look past anything that, anything that may hold you back, or anything that may raise you up, and just look at you as a person, and not you as a score on a test, not you as some sort of record, not you as XYZ, but you as Gerald Moore, me as J.R. Huntington. I wanted to create those lasting impressions as a person.
Was there ever a time where you actually wanted to give up? And then how did you overcome that?
Absolutely, yes. So it was a couple times. When I first went into college, I went in as a pre-med major. And just for the story, I graduated as a communication major. So huge change, absolutely massive change. This was my original track was going to be, 4 years of college, then X amount of years after that, then residency, potentially go in med school. So that was going to be a 10 plus year schooling. And I changed to communication. And I had a point in there where I almost gave up kind of just on the idea of higher education, because I didn't really think I found something I loved at, UConn. It's like, well, what would I study if it isn't medicine? And then once I figured out communication, then I said, all right, my idea of communication is, you just do it to get through college, and then you have to figure out some kind of not that great job afterwards. But it was my friends. So another big point of emphasis is to find a support system, no matter who that is. So I was always kind of quiet at home, even though me and my mom had an excellent relationship and still do. I was kind of quiet in just how I felt about certain things related to school. As I went forward, I found that support system in college of people who wanted to see me excel, and they were excelling themselves. One of my main best friends, he is now an engineer doing sonar tracking for basically like getting military contracts, doing things with sonar and submarines. This is a gifted guy. He's going places, and he is one of my best friends. And him and I connected because we both had a desire to do something big, right? So you have to find those people to connect with that are both, you can push each other upwards. And as I was kind of thinking about giving up because I didn't know what I wanted to do, he basically reassured me. He said, listen, there's plenty of opportunities within what you want to do, but you have to think about what those things are and apply yourself to them. And so when I was presented with the FCP Euro opportunity, I said, this is an intersection between me as a person being able to use my personality to create a career for myself and, an audience myself, and also me as a JR helping to work FCP Euro and grow their business through like who I am. And I chased that opportunity. Like I said, I worked with them for a couple months, didn't hear anything for a couple months, kept working them through email and texting those people that got their numbers and, calling and showing up every once in a while. And then that kind of helped me break down the kind of virtual wall that was there. And they offered me a job and I stepped foot right into FCP Europe. And here I am now.
Yeah, man, you're a great testament that what you can do once you find kind of your purpose and what you want to do, like having, a lot of young brothers out there, come from single parent homes, with a single mom. And sometimes it's a struggle. Like you said, like your mom worked a lot. So you kind of had to figure it out a little bit on your own. But, you took those initiatives and, dude, I think it's awesome. I think your story is awesome. I think you are going to be a great mentor for some young brothers out there. And I think it's important that we give back. And like, you guys at FCP Euro and how you talk about FCP Euro, you guys all kind of seem to be the same kind of guy, like who want to give back, open. And I think as a company, like it's a top down thing. Like I was able to get to Scott, like you were able to get to the manager, you were able to get to and be able to communicate them and help facilitate you to get to where you are. I think that's awesome. So we're going to move to our lightning round.
Oh, shoot. All right.
About to put you on the spot, man. So you already told us you're a BMW guy. All-time favorite car.
Oh man. Honestly, so I'm extremely biased because I own this car. But I think my all-time favorite car is an E46 M3. So the M3 made from 2001 to 2006. And the only thing that I would probably want more than it is a wagon version of that same exact car.
Okay. All right. How fast have you ever driven in a car?
Oh my gosh. So at fastest I've driven in a car or been in a car going was about 160 miles an hour.
Come on, man. What are you doing?
It wasn't me driving. I was in the back seat and it was quite the experience. But actually, the fastest I've ever driven in a car on track was 140 miles an hour with one of our race car drivers.
Oh, so you had an opportunity to drive the race car?
No. I was sitting in the passenger seat.
Okay.
And it was absolutely insane. Quite the experience. Pulling, over 2 Gs in corners and just basically being thrown around in a fixed racing seat where I couldn't actually get thrown around. It was really fun.
Awesome. Favorite food?
So this goes back to my mother and father are both Jamaican, and this is the national dish of Jamaica. And I might butcher the first word a little bit because I am way more American than Jamaican at this point. But it's ackee and saltfish. So ackee is a national, like.
Listen, yeah. I've had it. I have some Jamaican friends, and they fixed it for me. And yes, it's the bomb. It's the bomb. I'm with you on that one. Best sports team.
Best sports team is the New England Patriots. And I know I'm going to get a lot of boos for that, but the New England Patriots, #1 sports team.
The minus Tom Brady New England Patriots?
Yes, because I actually am a big fan of Cam Newton. And I think he is actually somebody that's pretty great for people to look up, like people like myself and, young black boys to look up to as a model of success and giving back.
So if you could have $1 million to do anything you wanted to do with it in one day.
One day.
One day. What would you do? What would you ball out on?
Oh my gosh. One day. Man, I couldn't build something in one day. I would build a car, but that's only one day.
One day, man. You just balling out.
Shoot. Well, I would pay off my mom's student loans because she's currently in school and she's telling me about how much she owes because she's in accelerated nursing school. Right. So that's big money.
Yes.
Pay off her loans, pay off my loans, which luckily aren't that much right now. And then, man, ball out. Probably go get an M8 Grand Coupe.
M8 Grand, no house. No house. You got to spend this million, man. You got $1 million to spend. So you've paid off your mom's loan. You've paid off your loans. You got the M8 Grand Coupe. You got some dough
That's
left.
true. I would buy a house right here in Milford.
Okay.
Just like a little cape. Probably the house would be like 250 grand, but I would start. I would pay down payment on a barn so I could put my cars in the barn in the back.
Okay.
And then I probably would have like $400,000 left. So I would see how many Chromebooks I can get, and then put 200 grand in my savings.
All right, and that's okay. That's a good way to spend. So you're gonna at least flip 200K.
That could turn back into $1 million pretty easily.
Exactly. That's my first thought. Well, I'm gonna take a huge portion of this and invest it so I can continue to flip it. All right, JR, man, we taking enough of your time. I want to let you we're gonna go out close by you telling the people about FCP Euro and what type of company they are and how they can support.
Absolutely. So as we talked about towards the beginning of this video, FCP Euro, super open company, and when presented with an opportunity like this, we thought the best way would be to open the doors even more and actually let people in. Now, this is the absolute worst time for us to try to play do something like that because of obviously the national concern of COVID-19, which is a very, very legitimate concern. So we've been taking it extremely seriously here and can't wait to invite some kids in, hopefully next year, to really kick off an in-person Technology to Manhood lecture series style, program. Other than that, FCP Euro, we've been selling European car parts since 1986. We've been online since 2001 when our president, Nick, he basically bought the company out from his parents and said, all right, guys, from here on out, you guys get to kick back and I'm going to help make this money with FCP Euro, support you guys, support the enthusiasts in the community out there with their European cars, and just basically create something really cool. So from 2006, fast forward to 2020, we have over 100,000 square feet of facility with, parts, offices, a garage, a race team, etc. And this is all to deliver the best experience to the people that need parts for their European cars. So we'll do the research here on these parts we're selling. We'll break them ourselves, so that somebody else doesn't have to, and then we'll take them off the website if they do indeed break, things like that. And we, as Gerald mentioned, and as I mentioned, do our best to be as open as possible. So you can message me directly on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, etc. You can message FCP Euro directly, and I will likely answer that message as well to the guys of FCP Euro. And you can message our CEO, Scott, myself through email, etc. We're all open and we're all here for the community in whatever capacity that may be.
All right, people, you heard it from Mr. J.R. Huntington, the social media manager and tech guy for FCP Euro, which is an awesome company. I actually get my parts from FCP Euro. That's how I met these guys. And we have an awesome partnership. So you guys need to stay tuned and really check out their social media and their YouTube channel. These guys are doing some really interesting stuff and they have fun, right? These guys are having fun. And it's not all about, cars. These guys are actually just having fun and they actually have a race team. I don't know any young boys, period. I don't care what your race is, who didn't grow up and think he was going to be a race car driver. So I went
from truck driver to race car driver when I was younger. Neither, but who knows what the future holds.
Right. So this is our first episode of the Technology to Manhood lecture series. It's a showcase of Black men to Black boys. First episode, J.R. Huntington. Make sure you stay tuned for next week's episode and support FCP Euro, Tech School for Black Boys, and Mission Fulfilled 2030. You can go to www.missionfulfilled2030.org.
One last word from FCP Euro. Everybody here, we'd like to say a big thank you to Gerald. Big thank you to Mission Fulfilled 2030. You know, being a part of this organization is just a start for what we would like to do for the community as a whole. And I can't wait to see what the future holds.
Awesome. All right, JR, have an awesome day on purpose, my brother.
Absolutely. You as well, Gerald. Thank you.